Executive Director Bill Hancock, kind enough to join us now for our weekly chat. Jeff Long talked last week, Bill, about how the room was split between people who felt Florida State wasn't playing up to par and people who wanted to credit the Noles for winning. So with FSU dropping to number 4 this week, how and why did that conversation change?
Well, hey, Bonnie, thank you for having me on again. I love your give and take, and I'm glad that Bonnie is there as a peacemaker.
I try. So what do you think about FSU?
Yeah, the conversation changes every week as every team's body of work changes. And I think this was more about TCU than it was about Florida State. TCU, as y'all noted, is a complete team playing very well on both sides of the ball right now. Florida State has struggled, but the committee members obviously realize they are undefeated. And as you said, as we talked about last week, some of the committee members know that their resilience is a point in their favor. And others look at that and say, you know, why are they struggling? But obviously, at number 4, if the season were over now, they would be in the playoff. And, you know, every one of those top teams will be in action this week. So it's going to be a great weekend.
You certainly will. I'm glad you brought up body of work, Bill, because it's one of the core criteria the committee's talked about all season long. But I want to ask you, how are you going to be able to weigh for Ohio State that body of work when, outside of this week's game, Cardale Jones really hasn't been a part of that?
Yeah, we'll look at that, and this game is important for them. And obviously, it's important for the Buckeyes to try to win the Big Ten championship, and also important for the playoff. So he's got a game to prove himself. We know he was in their mix up until last spring at number 2. We know he's a fine player, and we're just going to sit back this weekend and watch and see how he does.
Bill, we got Pete and Doug here. Pete, go ahead.
All right, just between you and me here for next week, let's just say Oregon, TCU, Florida State, Ohio State, and Baylor all win really impressively. They all look fantastic this weekend, and Missouri beats Alabama. Is the committee prepared for the idea of an SEC team not in the top 4, and are they equally prepared to knock someone else out if Alabama loses and is somehow still in the top 4?
Well, now, Pete, you know I'm not going to project what might happen this weekend. We all just are going to have to sit back and watch. Good try, though, Pete.
I tried. I had to do it. Next time, I'll get you at some point.
Doug.
Hey, Bill, we've gotten used to seeing Florida State win nail biters all year. Last week, Florida State does the same thing against Florida. Jameis Winston doesn't look good towards the end. Now, the gap between 4 and 5 are Ohio State looks. If Florida State goes out in the ACC championship game, doesn't look great, Ohio State looks dominant. Is the gap between 4 and 5 close enough we could see Ohio State jump Florida State like TCU jumped them?
Well, again, I'm not going to project, but I will say this. 3, 4, 5, 6 are all very close, and anything can happen.
Bill, I'm not asking you to project here. I want to preface this question. However, getting back to Florida State, in the event they struggle against Georgia Tech, but let's just say they're winning. We're not projecting. I'm just projecting to putting a scenario out there. Is there a possibility that an undefeated team does not make the playoff?
Bonnie, just can't project. I can't. Not going to go there.
It's not a projection. I'm sure that discussion's been had in the room somehow.
We're trying, Bill.
Well, Florida, you know, but we really haven't talked about that possibility because it's in our way of thinking right now. This is how the committee views the teams to this point, and it's fun to project. Those hot stove league conversations are fun, but we're going to have to wait and see what happens this weekend.
Man, you are one tough cookie.
We're
just
gonna
can't
get him
crack
yet.
you.
We're trying.
I'm not done. I'm
good.
coming to Dallas
We're gonna
this
get him
week,
yet.
Bill. I'm coming to get you. Bill Hancock, Executive Director for the College Football Playoff. Always great to see you, Bill. We'll see you down in Dallas this weekend.